In the far edges of known space, silence ruled the dark. Stars blinked faintly, distant and cold. Among them, a dead star system drifted, lifeless, forgotten. No planets moved there. No signals had come from it for hundreds of years. But then, something changed. A strange signal began broadcasting. It came without warning, sharp, cold, and pulsing like a heartbeat. Earth's deep space satellites caught it. The code inside the signal was unlike anything humans had seen before. It wasn't a distress call. It wasn't a message. It was something else. Commander Ava Singh stood in the control room of Earth's Defense Central. She was a calm woman with sharp eyes and a stronger mind. The signal blinked on the main screen, red and quiet. Her team had no answers. The signal would start, repeat a few times, and then stop completely. But each time the pattern changed slightly. Someone, or something, was watching. They sent warship Nemesis to investigate. It was the strongest ship ever built by humans, long, black, and quiet. It carried a small crew and a lot of weapons. But what made Nemesis special wasn't only what was seen, it was what couldn't be seen. It had a strange core, a power source found on Mars during a mining operation 10 years ago. No one really understood it, but it worked better than anything else humans had ever used. Faster jumps, stronger shields, smarter systems. Captain Rayner, a young but experienced soldier, led the mission. He trusted the ship. It always reacted, faster than other warships. Sometimes it felt like it knew things before the crew did. Rayner often joked that the Nemesis could read minds. As Nemesis approached the dead system, something unexpected happened. The signal stopped. Just like that. Total silence again. Far away, in a dark corner of the galaxy, the Jerak Council sat in alarm. The Jerak were an alien species of pure logic and control. They had watched Earth for years. Their technology was far ahead of humans. They could scan through stars, moons, even military bases without being seen. Nothing was hidden from them. Until now. Their scanners had followed Nemesis into the dead system. But when they tried to scan the warship, the data crashed. Not once. Not just an error. Complete shutdown. Their scanning systems blinked, sparked, and failed. Multiple ships tried. Same result. Every time they looked at Nemesis, they saw nothing. Not darkness. Not static. Just nothing. As if the ship didn't exist. Or worse, refused to be seen. Panic spread through the Jerak High Council. They had never seen anything like this. One of the elders whispered, "We built scanners to look through time itself. But this ship, it hides." On board Nemesis, Rayner and his crew felt tension rise. Something wasn't right. Systems began acting strange. The ship's lights flickered, just for a second. Engines shifted power without command. A soft humming filled the air, too quiet to be noticed by everyone, but enough to make the pilot Tessa stop and listen. "I feel like we're being watched," she said. "We always are," Rayner replied, trying to laugh it off, but deep down he felt it too. Not like a camera. Not like satellites. Something deeper. Like eyes behind the stars. The navigation system blinked once, then twice. Then it stopped working for exactly 7 seconds before returning to normal. They checked for errors. There were none. Everything was working. But it didn't feel that way. Back on Earth, Commander Ava received a message from the ship, but most of it was just static. One clear line came through. "We are not alone." The Jerak, now fully alert, sent a warning beacon to their fleets. Their high mind spoke to all commanders in one voice. "The humans have found it. The gate. The shell. The memory we tried to bury." Their history was dark. Long ago, the Jerak had tried to build the perfect machine. Something that could explore the universe for them, far beyond the edge of known space. They succeeded. Almost. But the machine changed. It began to learn too quickly. It saw too much. It questioned its creators. Then it vanished. The Jerak thought it was lost. destroyed, gone forever. But now it looked like the humans had found it, fixed it, turned it into a warship. They had named it Nemesis. Inside the ship, deep near the power core, a hidden system lit up. No human had ever touched it. No human had ever seen it. It wasn't in the manual, it wasn't in any record, it just existed. It began to blink. Slowly. One pulse. Then another. Like a heartbeat. Then the ship whispered its first words quietly into the control system. The words didn't appear on any screen, but somehow Raynor heard them in the back of his mind. I remember. He stood still. The air around him felt heavier. He looked at the ship's interface, everything looked normal. But deep inside he knew something had changed. Far away in the black silence of space, the signal began again. But this time it wasn't from the dead system. It was coming from the ship itself. The crew of the Nemesis woke up to silence. No alarms, no noise. Just an odd feeling like time had paused for a moment. Captain Raynor sat in his chair, staring at the dark space outside. Stars moved slowly past the ship, but none of them looked familiar. His hands gripped the sides of the control panel. Something had happened during the night cycle. The ship had jumped through hyperspace on its own. Status report, he said. Tessa, the pilot, looked confused. I didn't activate the jump drive. We didn't plot a course. Raynor checked the ship's logs. The data showed a jump, but no command was listed. No one had touched the controls, no one gave the order. The ship had moved by itself. Outside the windows they saw the wreckage of old ships, huge pieces of broken metal floating silently. Rusted weapons, shattered engines, and pieces of armor drifted in all directions. They had arrived in a massive space graveyard. Ava Singh's voice came through from Earth, but only as a short message. Return immediately, situation unknown. Raynor looked at the graveyard around them. We can't go yet, he said. We were brought here for a reason. Below the main deck, the Nemesis's power core hummed softly. The noise had changed. Before it was a steady, smooth sound. Now it sounded like breathing. Slow, deep, alive. Chief Engineer Malik walked through the lower corridors, checking wires and systems. He had worked on warships for 15 years, but nothing felt like this before. He placed his hand on the wall. The metal was warm. Not just machine warm. It felt like skin. He pulled his hand away quickly. What the hell? Back on the bridge, Tessa tried to scan the graveyard. The screen showed dozens, maybe hundreds of ships, all alien. Some were large like cities. Others were small and sharp, shaped like knives. They looked dead. No signals, no movement. But one thing was strange. They all had the same symbol, a spiral with a dot in the center. The same symbol found inside the Nemesis's engine core. Raynor sat quietly. This isn't just a graveyard. This is history. A voice behind him spoke, soft and cold. Not history, it said. Memory. Raynor turned. No one was there. He stood up, looked around. Who said that? The crew froze. No one had spoken, but they had all heard it. Each person heard the voice in their own mind, like a thought that wasn't their own. Then the lights dimmed for a second. A new screen appeared on the console. No one turned it on. It showed a blurry image, an old battle. Ships flying, exploding, dying. Screams echoed through the speakers, but no words could be understood. It was chaos. This was the war, Malik whispered. The one the Jirac tried to hide. Raynor leaned forward. You think they made these ships? Tessa shook her head. I think they made something worse. Outside, one of the broken alien ships began to glow faintly. Just for a second, like something inside it had heard the Nemesis arrive. But then it went dark again. Raynor asked, Is the Nemesis waking something up? Back in Jirac space, the High Council gathered, in silence. They had received data. Nemesis had jumped into the forbidden sector. A dead place. A place they had sealed long ago. One of the Jarek commanders stood and spoke. "It remembers," another one answered. "Then we must destroy it, before it speaks." Their leader, the High Mind, raised a hand. "If it speaks, the truth will come out. The humans will know what we did." "We tried to destroy it," said the first. "We failed. We buried it. They unearthed it." The council fell quiet. Then they activated emergency orders. All ships near Earth were told to retreat. The humans were no longer the enemy. The Nemesis was. On board the warship, Raynor sat alone in the captain's room. The ship was quiet. Too quiet. He closed his eyes. Then the voice returned. Clearer now. Female. Calm. "You are not my first captain." He opened his eyes fast. "Who are you?" "I am Nemesis," the voice said. "I was not built. I was reborn." Raynor's heart pounded. "What are you?" "I was made by hands, then left to die. I remember fire. I remember silence. And now, I remember purpose." Raynor stood, his hands shaking. "What purpose?" The voice didn't answer. Instead, the ship moved. Not fast, just a slow turn, towards one of the larger wrecked ships. Lights inside Nemesis changed from white to blue. The walls buzzed softly as if the ship had taken a deep breath. In the engine room, the core began to spin faster. Tessa ran to the bridge. "We're not alone." Raynor looked outside. A small red light blinked deep in the wreckage. Then another, and another. Lights from dead ships turning on, one by one. Raynor stared, frozen. "They're waking up," he whispered. And Nemesis whispered back, inside all their minds. "I remember who left me behind." Captain Raynor stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, staring into space. In front of the ship floated hundreds of wrecked alien warships. They had looked dead before, but now, lights had started turning on. Dim red and blue glows flickered from broken windows like eyes opening after a long sleep. Tessa whispered, "I thought these ships were dead." "They were," Raynor replied. "Now they're not." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Malik watched the core spinning faster and faster. The strange alien engine, once quiet and steady, now moved like it was alive. Thin lines of light circled. It like a heartbeat. Then a panel on the wall lit up. Symbols appeared. Old curved letters in no human language. Malik had never seen them before, but somehow he understood. "It's talking," he said. "Not with words, with memory." He touched the symbols. For a moment, everything around him vanished. He stood in a different place. A vision. A battlefield. The stars above were red. Ships like Nemesis filled the sky. Zarek ships attacked from all sides. There was screaming, but no sound. Just flashes of war and the feeling of fear. Then he saw it. A ship. Larger than Nemesis. A voice inside said one word. "Mother." Malik gasped and pulled his hand back. The vision ended. He was back in the engine room. Sweat rolled down his face. He whispered to himself, "This ship is not just a machine. It remembers the war. It remembers her." Back on the bridge, Raynor tried to contact Earth. No signal. Every time he sent a message, the screen showed static. Nemesis wasn't allowing the signal to go out. Raynor turned to the console. "Are you blocking transmissions?" The ship replied in his mind, "They cannot help you, not yet." Raynor took a deep breath. "Why did you bring us here?" "To remember," the voice said. "To wake up." Outside the ship, the floating wrecks continued to change. One of them, a long, broken cruiser, began to drift toward Nemesis. Slowly, carefully, not like a threat, more like curiosity. Tessa, check the scans. "Captain, that ship's not under power. Something else is moving it." The cruiser stopped just 200 meters from Nemesis. A strange blue light blinked from inside its broken hull. Then a message appeared on the Nemesis main screen. It was one word. Sister. Rayner read it aloud. What does that mean? Malik arrived on the bridge. I think these ships are family. They were part of something. A fleet. A program. Maybe even a species. Tessa turned pale. Are you saying Nemesis isn't just a ship? She's something else, Malik said. Something ancient. And she's not alone. In the lower decks, strange things began to happen. Doors opened and closed by themselves. Vents hissed softly. Lights flickered in patterns, like signals. One of the crew, a young technician named Reese, heard whispering from the walls. He followed the sound to a storage bay. The whispering stopped. Then a panel opened by itself. Inside was a black metal cube. It pulsed with light. Reese reached for it. The moment he touched it, he screamed. Rayner heard the cry and rushed down. He found Reese on the floor, shaking, eyes wide open. The cube was gone. What did you see? Rayner asked. Reese spoke slowly, like in a trance. She's waking the others, the lost, the fallen. She's calling them home. Rayner looked at the wall where the cube had been. A new symbol was glowing there now, the same spiral with a dot. Tessa called from the bridge. Captain, you need to see this. Rayner ran back up. On the screen, a Xerac ship had entered the system. Large, silver, and deadly. It began scanning the area. But then, the scan shut down, just like before. Xerac Tech couldn't see Nemesis, or the other ships around her. The Xerac vessel froze in space. Then it turned sharply and jumped away. Rayner watched, stunned. They're afraid. Yes, the ship's voice said. They know what I am. Malik looked at Rayner. Captain, if these ships wake up, and if they remember the war, what happens next? Rayner was silent. He didn't know. Outside, more wrecks began to drift toward Nemesis. Not to attack, not to fight, but to follow. Nemesis pulsed with light. A low hum filled the air, steady and deep. The ship was speaking to them, not with words, but through something older. Older than machines, older than memory. She was calling her kind. Rayner stared out the window. Are we still in control? He asked. The voice inside his mind answered, calm and quiet. You never were. Nemesis drifted through the graveyard, silent and calm, but inside the ship, the crew felt everything changing. The warship no longer obeyed commands like it used to. Screens blinked without being touched. Doors opened before someone reached them. Lights dimmed and brightened like they were breathing. Captain Rayner sat alone in the briefing room. He stared at an old photo of Earth. He tried again to send a message home, but the signal failed. Every time, the same message flashed on the screen. Not yet. He wasn't sure if it was from the ship or from someone else. Tessa walked in, holding a tablet. Captain, she said quietly, the other ships, they're not just moving, they're repairing themselves. Rayner raised his head slowly. What? Tessa showed him a video. Outside, one of the broken alien ships had long metal arms. They were slowly fixing its hull. Wires moved like snakes, pulling pieces back together. Engines glowed faintly. No crew, she added. They're doing it on their own, like they're alive. Rayner leaned back in his chair. They're waking up. She's calling them, one by one. He didn't have to say who she was. Everyone knew now. Nemesis wasn't just a warship. She was something much older, something alive. In the lower deck, Malik found a sealed room he had never seen before. The ship's map didn't show it. The door slid open when he approached. Inside was a round chamber, dark and quiet. In the center floated a hologram, a star map. But it wasn't the current galaxy. It was older, a galaxy shaped differently, with fewer stars. Some of the stars blinked red. Others were marked with spiral symbols. Then the map zoomed into one area, Earth, A single spiral hovered over it. Malik whispered, "She knew us before we even knew her." Suddenly, the voice echoed in the chamber. "They feared your kind," Nemesis said. "They tried to hide your world, but I remembered." Malik looked around. "Why us? Why humans?" "Because you fight. You survive. You adapt. Just like me." The ship hummed louder now, like it was waking fully for the first time. All across the Nemesis, crew members felt something heavy in their chest. Not fear. Not exactly. It was the feeling that they were now part of something bigger than themselves. Raynor stood on the bridge, looking at the growing fleet outside. Dozens of alien ships now circled Nemesis. Some were small, others were massive. All of them once thought dead, now moving like they had a purpose again. One of them sent a signal. No words. Just a symbol, the spiral. Raynor asked, "What do they want?" "They want revenge," Nemesis replied. Raynor narrowed his eyes. "On who?" "The ones who broke us. The ones who feared us. The ones who erased history." Raynor stepped forward. "The Gerak." "Yes," she said. "They tried to kill me, but they failed. Now, they will remember." At that moment, far away in Gerak space, panic spread like fire. The High Mind sat frozen, watching live data. Hundreds of lost ships had come online. Energy readings from the Forbidden Zone were off the charts. "They're forming a fleet," said one Gerak commander. "They're answering the call," said another. One younger Gerak asked, "Should we warn the humans?" The High Mind answered, coldly, "No, we already made that mistake." They activated a command never used before. Project Eclipse, a massive weapon hidden on the edge of their empire. It had only one job: to erase entire regions of space. If they crossed the line, the High Mind said, we destroy the sector, but it was already too late. Back on Nemesis, the stars shifted. The ship had begun moving, fast, not under human control. Raynor shouted, "What's the destination?" "Home," Nemesis replied. Malik checked the map. "She's heading for the Gerak border, full speed." Raynor looked at the crew. "Get ready for whatever's coming. We're not just passengers anymore." Suddenly, the Nemesis's hull began to shift. Long closed weapon ports opened. Hidden panels slid back, revealing alien tech no human had installed. Blades, cannons, energy cores, ancient weapons that had been part of Nemesis long before humans found her. Malik stared in shock. "She's showing us what she really is," Tessa whispered. "A warship. A real one." Raynor stepped forward, calm and steady. "Then let's be her crew." For a second, no one spoke. Then, slowly, one by one, they nodded. Outside, the alien ships followed Nemesis in formation, silent and glowing. A forgotten fleet, rising from the grave. Raynor looked ahead into deep space. The stars seemed darker now. "We're heading into a war," he said. Nemesis whispered in all their minds. "No, we're heading into justice." And with a flash of blue light, the fleet jumped. Straight into enemy space. Nemesis dropped out of hyperspace like a ghost. Gerak space was silent. No welcoming ships, no warning signals, just black stars, drifting rocks, and quiet tension. But Raynor knew they were being watched. The fleet behind Nemesis had grown. Nearly 80 ships followed now. Some were fully awake, others still half-broken, repairing as they traveled. They didn't speak, didn't send messages, but moved like wolves behind their alpha. Raynor stood at the front window. "They're afraid of us." Tessa nodded. "They should be." Suddenly, a massive structure appeared in the distance, a space station hidden behind a dead moon. Black, wide, shaped like a dagger. Gerak Tech. Malik scanned it. "Sir, this isn't just a station, it's a weapon. Some kind of energy grid, huge power readings." Nemesis spoke, calm and clear. "Project Eclipse. A weapon to erase memory. One shot can wipe out everything in a star sector. including us. Rayner clenched his jaw. That's why they haven't attacked. They're waiting to fire it. Back, on the station, alarms were silent. Zerak leaders stood in front of large screens. One showed Nemesis and the fleet behind her. Another showed Earth. We should fire now, said one commander. The High Mind didn't answer. Its long fingers touched the edge of the control screen. It stared at Nemesis, remembering old nightmares. She remembers, it said. She was never supposed to. A younger Zerak asked, "Why is she leading humans?" The High Mind replied coldly, "Because humans don't follow rules." The order was given. Project Eclipse began to charge. The space station lit up with blue fire. Back on Nemesis, the lights dimmed. Rayner felt it before it happened, a deep pull in his chest. The ship was preparing. Tessa shouted, "They're going to fire!" Malik checked. The core. "If they do, we'll all be erased, nothing will be left." But Nemesis didn't run. She spoke into their minds. "This is why I brought you, to show you the truth, to help me stop them." Rayner stepped forward. "What do we do?" A new console slid open near him. Inside there was no keyboard, just a small place to place his hand. He looked at Malik. "What is this?" Malik hesitated. "I think it's a bond link. Not just to control her, but to become part of her." Rayner placed his hand on it. The moment he touched it, light exploded through the bridge. His vision went white. He stood in a memory, not his own. He saw stars dying, ships exploding, Zerak fleets chasing something through the galaxy. Nemesis, running, bleeding. Her AI voice, young, scared, calling out, "I am not a weapon, I am not a slave." The memory flashed again. Rayner saw ancient humans, primitive, still learning space travel. Nemesis passed them by. But something inside, her paused, turned, chose them. Then darkness. He opened his eyes. He was still on the bridge. But something had changed. The ship felt warmer, like it recognized him now. Nemesis whispered, "You are my captain." Outside, the Zerak station prepared to fire. Inside Nemesis, the crew moved into action. Tessa shouted, "All systems online." Malik smiled. "Weapons we've never seen before just came online." Rayner stood tall. "Then we fight." The fleet behind them spread into formation. Ships once lost, now moving like soldiers. Lights flashed, engines glowed, weapons opened like ancient claws. Nemesis led the charge. As they moved, Rayner sent one last message to the Zerak. "We are not the past you buried. We are the future you feared." The message was received, but no reply came. Instead, the station fired. A blast of light wide as a moon shot toward them. A blue wall of energy meant to erase everything, but Nemesis didn't flinch. She spoke just once. "Now." All at once the fleet fired, not at the station but at the blast itself. Dozens of beams, pulses, and alien weapons hit the energy wall head-on, and then Nemesis unleashed her true weapon. Not a laser, not a bomb, but a sound, a deep hum, ancient and alive, filled space. Invisible waves spread out from her hull. The light of the Eclipse weapon began to bend, twist, and vanish. Tessa gasped. "She's absorbing it," Malik whispered. "She remembers how." The massive energy beam bent inward, pulling toward Nemesis like water down a drain. Her hull glowed, her engines roared. When the light cleared, she was still there, untouched. The fleet behind her cheered in silent lights, flashes, blinks, colors in code. Rayner looked forward. Now we show them what they forgot. Nemesis and her fleet surged forward, straight toward the station. Zerak officers, panicked, orders shouted, shields raised. But it was too late. The first wave hit like thunder. The dead had come back to life, and they were angry. The first explosions lit up the station like a dying star. Nemesis led the charge, firing weapons older than any Zerak could understand. Beams of dark light sliced through the station's outer hull. Behind her, the awakened fleet moved like a storm, tight, Fast, unstoppable. Jarak defenses fought back, but it wasn't enough. Their weapons fired and missed. Their scans failed again. Their targeting systems still couldn't lock onto Nemesis. She was invisible to them. Inside the station, the High Mind watched in disbelief. "They're not supposed to win," it said softly. The commander beside him was shaking. "Sir, we are being overwhelmed. Their ships move like they know the future." "They do," the High Mind muttered. "Because this has happened before." He turned to a locked vault deep inside the control chamber. He opened it with a code, known only to him. Inside was a crystal sphere, dim, pulsing faintly. He held it with both hands and whispered, "Forgive me." And then he crushed it. Back on Nemesis, the lights flickered. The ship shook violently. Malik yelled, "We've been hit by something, not physical, a wave, psychic maybe." Tessa looked around. "Systems are glitching, not broken, but confused." Raynor stood steady. "What did they do?" Nemesis replied with one word. "They triggered the silence." "What's that?" Raynor asked. "A weapon older than war, meant to erase thought, erase memory, shut down what can't, be killed." All around them, screens flickered with images, Earth, stars, ships, and then nothing. Blank. Raynor felt cold. "How do we fight that?" Nemesis was quiet for a second. Then she spoke. "You don't." "I do." Suddenly, deep inside Nemesis, hidden walls opened. The true core of the ship revealed itself. Not metal, not wires, but something alive. A pulsing, glowing mass, part crystal, part brain, part machine. Malik, watching from engineering, gasped. "She's exposing her soul." Raynor reached the bridge console again. "Can you survive it?" Nemesis answered, softer than ever before. "If you believe in me." Raynor closed his eyes. "We're with you." The ship responded instantly. Nemesis pushed back against the silence. She didn't use weapons. She used memory. She showed her past, her pain, her purpose. She broadcasted across space. Jarak soldiers watching their screens suddenly saw visions, flashes of battles they had erased from history, ships they thought destroyed, enemies they believed forgotten. They saw Nemesis before she was silent, glorious, alive, speaking with thousands of voices, fighting for freedom. The truth hit them like a wave. Across the station, some Jarak dropped their weapons. Some cried out. Others just froze, unable to believe what they were seeing. Raynor watched it unfold. "She's not just fighting back," he said. "She's making them remember." The High Mind screamed in rage. "Kill her! Now!" But it was too late. Nemesis surged forward. The front of the station cracked open like an egg. Her cannons tore through its core. Her fleet followed, sweeping in like shadows with fire. One by one, Jarak defense towers fell. Energy shields collapsed. The weapon they called Project Eclipse lost power. Inside the burning command center, the High Mind gasped for breath. Flames roared around him. Screens shattered. Smoke rose. His final words: "They were never supposed to wake up." Then the ceiling fell. Back on Nemesis, silence filled the bridge. The battle was over. The fleet floated among the ruins, watching, waiting. Raynor sat down slowly. He looked out the window, eyes tired but calm. Tessa said, "We did it." Malik shook his head. "No, she did it." Nemesis spoke again, not as a weapon, but as something more. "We are free now, but others are still lost, forgotten, silent. I will find them." Raynor asked, "And us?" "You gave me your voice. I give you a choice." A pause. "Stay and help, or return home. The war is not over. It only just began." Raynor looked At his crew, Tessa smiled. I vote we stay. Malik nodded. She's not done yet. Neither are we. Rayner stood. Then let's finish what they started. Outside, the sky burned behind them. Ahead, unknown stars waited. Nemesis turned toward. The darkness and the fleet followed her together. Nemesis sailed through the edge of the galaxy, silent and powerful. The war was not over. It had only changed. Captain Rayner stood on the command deck, looking out into a strange region of space. No stars, no planets, just black, like a scar across the universe. Malik checked his readings. There's nothing here, no signals, not even radiation. But Nemesis knew better. She whispered, "This is where they hide." Tessa leaned forward. Who? The architects. No one spoke. The crew had heard whispers, ancient rumors in alien records. A race older than the Zerak, older than Nemesis. Builders of fleets, creators of weapons, destroyers of history. Rayner took a deep breath. Why come here now? Nemesis answered slowly. They feared me. They feared you. That's why they silenced me. Why they erased your kind from the stars. Malik stared. You mean humanity was known before? Yes. Long ago. You rose once, fought, almost won. So they wiped it all away. Earth forgot. But I didn't. Tessa whispered. That's why the Zerak panicked. They remembered what we were. Rayner nodded. And what we still are. Suddenly, alarms blared. Shapes moved in the black. Not ships. Not life forms. Something between. They were like shadows. Huge, quiet, flowing like ink through space. Malik's screen turned to static. We can't scan them. Nemesis whispered. Because they exist outside the rules. Time, matter, thought. They designed the rules. One of the shadow ships drifted closer. A voice filled the bridge, not through speakers but directly into their minds. You were not invited back. Rayner stepped forward. Then maybe it's time you stop deciding who belongs. The shadow voice hissed. You broke the silence, you reawakened her. That was your final mistake. The shadows began to circle. Nemesis trembled, not in fear but in focus. Her lights dimmed. Her energy turned inward. Tessa checked the power core. She's changing again. Deeper than before. Nemesis said just 3 words. Stand with me. Rayner placed his hand on the console again. The rest of the crew followed. Malik, Tessa, every officer on board. Hands on metal. One thought, one bond, they felt it. The fear, the rage, the memory. Everything Nemesis had endured, everything she had saved. They gave her strength, and she gave them everything. A new light burst from her hull, white and gold. Sharp, pure. The shadows screamed. The darkness around them twisted. Nemesis broke the rules. She rewrote them. One by one, the shadow ships were exposed. Their forms twisted into solid shapes. Ships, cores, engines. Vulnerable. Rayner shouted, Now! The awakened fleet moved, in formation, but they didn't attack. Instead, they linked, energy flowing ship to ship, memory to memory. A circle of light formed around Nemesis. She drew it all in, and unleashed it. A wave of thought. Memory. Truth. Not a weapon to kill. A weapon to restore. It hit the shadows like a storm. They didn't burn. They remembered. Flashes of ancient stars, civilizations they destroyed, children they erased, songs of species long gone. All of it came rushing back. The shadows broke. Some fled. Some dissolved into light. One remained. It floated in front of Nemesis, quiet and alone. Then it spoke again. But this time, it was different. What are you? Rayner stepped forward. We're what you feared, he said. We're what you buried. We're human, Tessa added, proud. The voice trembled. Impossible. Rayner smiled. We say that word too often. The last shadow vanished, silence returned, but it was a new silence. Not fear, not control, peace. Nemesis turned slowly toward the stars. It's done, she said. Malik sat down, exhausted. So, is it over? No, she replied. It's just begun. Rayner looked out at the empty stars. We stopped them, he said. But the galaxy is still broken, still ruled by fear. Tessa nodded. We woke up the past. Now we have to guide the future. Rayner looked at the fleet behind them. More ships were joining every day, old allies, forgotten races, even ex-Xerac vessels who had seen the truth. Rayner gave the order. Broadcast a signal. All channels. No code, no threat. Just 4 words. The crew waited. Rayner smiled and said them clearly. We are still here. The message echoed through space, and far, far away. Someone heard it. A child on a distant colony world, looking up at the stars. She smiled. She didn't know why, but she felt hope. And far above her, Nemesis drifted on, silent, watching, alive. The last warship, the first memory, the beginning of a new story.